the day before that fight against Vitor Belfort, and you were hospitalized. What do you recall from that weekend looking back?
It was a crazy experience. Thinking about it back now, a lot of it was related to stress. Stress affects the body in different ways. I had a digestive problem where it was hard for me to digest food. Like I would eat food and it would be hard to just digest it. And 2 weeks or a week and a half prior to the fight with Vitor, my coach Robert Follis took his life, and that really affected me. And on top of that, I had some issue with a really, really close friend, one of my best friend, if not my best friend. And we had to stop talking, and it just made me feel very stressed out. I remember calling my mom and my sister for that source of comfort, and I was like, I don't know if I can do this. My head is not there, And she said, you got to get your stuff together. This is it. You have no choice. It's in front of you. You have to accept it, embrace it, take what you can. This is something that happens, and it's just embracing and accepting it. And I bit down. I did. I mean, it was a rough week, but leading up to the fight, I do remember feeling the same way I felt before, where it was hard to digest. So with that effect, I cut the weight, and I cut the weight so far where I got to 180. I think I was 187, and then I was like, all right, I don't know if I can go anymore, and I was gonna pay that penalty, which is like 20% of your purse. But I'm so disciplined that I'm like, I've never missed weight. I'm gonna bite down and do it. So I went back in, and I end up being 185.6, which I made weight. And I remember just feeling, all right, let me just make it downstairs on the scale. I was walking to the elevator, boom, just like that, I collapsed. I was in and out of it. I woke up, people were over me. I passed back up. I woke up, I was in the elevator. I was holding on to my best friend, one of my good friend, Arshay. Apparently I bit him. He said I bit him to hold on to him. I passed out. I woke up, I was on the floor, and then people were over me. One of the guys from Alpha Male, Danny
Castillo.
Danny Castillo was there. He took charge of the situation. He was pressing down. He was, putting ice on me and stuff like that. I remember holding him a little bit, and I passed out again. My assistant Lisa, she showed up. I was in and out of it. Next thing you know, there was not doctors, EMTs, and the guy was, I guess, trying to get a needle in me, and they were like, hold his hand. And I remember swinging. I don't know what was happening. I wasn't in control of my body. I just started swinging, and I knew what was happening, but I couldn't control it. And I passed out again. I woke up, and I was on a stretcher going out the door. I passed out. I woke up in the hospital, and I was screaming for water. I was like, give me water. And like, we can't give you water yet. We gotta, whatever they have to do. They have to stick me first. And I was just like, give me fucking water. And they didn't want to give me water yet for whatever reason. I grabbed my sister. I'm like, just tell them to give me some sip of water, just a sip of water. And I've never felt so thirsty in my life. And when they finally give me a sip or whatever, I remember passing out. I was cramping, and I slowly started to wake back up, and everything just came back into perspective. And throughout the whole experience, what I really think I did was I pushed my body so far that I was literally willing to die. I pushed myself to the brink of almost death, and it was scary, but again, the fact that I was sick, I didn't stop that sickness, because as a warrior, you don't complain. I didn't look at that part that I should have just, paid the penalty or whatever.
I mean, setting aside, you didn't feel well, you had something digestive going on, and it was, that last pound was difficult to cut, but did it all feel like things that you had felt before? Like, up until the episode happened, did it all feel like at least this is somewhat familiar? It was terrible, but like I'm used to this. I've been here before.
With the weight cut, I know the feeling of it. It's a discomfort feeling, because you sit in sauna, you sweating out all the water, and water leaving your brain. It's just you get a little delirious. You hang around fighters that you take out so much water, you get your patience just gone. You just have no patience for anything. So when people are like, oh, can I get a picture? You're like, dude, I just want to relax. It's not me being an asshole. It's because I'm deprived so much. It did feel a little familiar, because I felt this in the past, where I felt it was hard to digest, and I felt bloated. And looking back now and doing a lot of tests that we did afterwards, a big part of it was stress related, because when you stress, I guess it affects everybody differently. For me, it affects my stomach. And again, I pushed that aside to say, all right, it's stress, but I have to do my job. And in doing so, I almost took my own life.
Huh. I mean, what you just said right there, did you feel like, were you, as it was happening, were you afraid that you could die?
You know what? I couldn't think about it. It was when I passed out, I didn't realize. When I woke up, I was just like delirious, but I didn't feel like I could die. I felt like I was there, but it was a matter of me just accepting it. I'm strong, man. My mind is a little strong, so it's weird to explain. I mean, pain is something we take all the time in fighting, and for me, I knew pain was temporary. So I was like, this is temporary. All I need to do is drink some water and I'll be fine. But as I'm saying that, I don't really have control of what's going on. So despite me losing my mind, I was there to see what was happening.
I mean, when you go to the hospital, and we are familiar as people who follow the sport and are there every weekend as people are cutting weight. But when you go to a hospital and a physician is like, "What is going on here? Why?" Do they even understand?
Last second fight, you can't take back the show.
Do they even? I mean, what are physicians telling you when you go to a general hospital like that, and they're probably not used to seeing people in that kind of condition?
I think what they're thinking is, what the heck is this guy doing? Are you stupid? You crazy? For me, it was just dedication. You look past all the things that you basically just say, fuck everything else. We show up, the pros go to work. And I was willing to just go that far. I didn't realize the health issues behind it because I've done it so much. And I just thought, this is just minor. I'm sure I'm really deprived, but I'll bounce back right away because you get some water in you and your body's back to normal. So that's how I was looking at it. As much as there was a lot of negative affirmation, I was saying to myself, the positive reinforcement is to say it's temporary. It's not forever. I just need some water after this. Let me just make it to the scale. But my body was just saying nope. And I think my kidney was so deprived. I didn't realize how important your kidney was. So this was a lesson, because your kidney basically flushes everything out. And my kidney was like, well, where's all the stuff to flush? And it pretty much had an acute failure, which is pretty much right next to shutting down. And yeah, it was scary.
I mean, when you did a video of your own, shortly after this, kind of explaining it, and one word that you mentioned was a mini heart attack, is how you described it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people obviously took that and said, he suffered a mini heart attack. Is that accurate, or was that just how it felt?
It to a degree, there was some of the words that related to me. Mini meaning small, minor, not as a big thing. If I say here's a mini amount of food, it's a small portion, so it was like more like a really, really small amount of that drastic effect on my body. But I guess when you take something like that, it can be brought out of context to be like, oh my God, heart attack. That's, people will just hear heart attack instead of the mini part. Acute kidney failure was a bigger part because my kidney was so deprived of the water, and that's what they were looking at. And I ran all the tests. They did all the tests. I came back fine. Of course, with the doctors, when it's happening to you, they don't understand that I had to put myself there. They're thinking it's a regular thing. I don't walk around like this all the time. It was just a couple hours I had to do it for. So I did all the tests. I came back fine. But that's one of the words kind of related in more of an explanation term, and I kind of threw it out there. I guess I should have used my word properly. But yeah.
Did doctors ever tell you how? Did they ever quantify how close you were to not making it?
I mean, I was pretty close, pretty much. They were like, dude, a lot of the stuff related to more of my assistant because my brain wasn't working to accept. But in my mind, as much as I felt close to death, I knew I'm good. It's a psychological way of training your body and your mind to say, you know what, you got nothing left, but there's that little hope. For a lot of people that are not athletes, or to step foot in that uncomfortable situation of basically you're going to kill yourself when you fight because anything can happen. It's hard to understand that mentality. That's why most people who don't understand the sport would say, why would you fight? Why would you do that? The realm of that whole fighting existence is just to kind of step outside of your comfort zone for a split second it's being so uncomfortable, ridiculously so uncomfortable that it's frightening and scary, and only a few people have accomplished to embrace and accept this fear. And I'm one of those people that are trying to accept that, and that's one of the reasons why I'm doing it, because I'm frightened of it and I'm trying to understand it. So if you don't understand it, it's easy to say, why do that? Why put yourself there? I don't want to go there, because a lot of people, let's face it, don't want to be uncomfortable. As human beings, our brain naturally tell us to protect ourselves. So if you see a dark alley, it's like, I'm not going down there. That's your brain saying, fuck that, don't go down there. Stuff's gonna happen. So a lot of people won't understand it unless you really live it.
So it sounds like you're relating it to, there's a fear of just getting into a fight. So and then there's also a fear of cutting weight. But specific to the cutting the weight part, I mean, does it give you any pause to go back in and go through an extreme weight cutting process after what happened?
I mean, I've cut weight thousands of times. No, I don't want to say thousands, but probably 20 times, over 20 times. So I'm used to it, And that one marriage of error, that's what cost me. It was basically a neglected health issue that I had. It was a neglected health issue, and I didn't pay attention to it because my will took over, and I wouldn't even say will. I would say ego. My ego took over to say, "You all right, dude?" And it's like when I broke my toe, my ego said, "You all right, dude?" But I think there's certain times you gotta focus on your body. When you're getting older, it doesn't perform as the same anymore. And in your youth, you feel strong. So as you're getting older, I think the merge is like maybe 30, 31. Certain things just start to go down. Your recovery base is not the same anymore. You waking up not feeling achy, it's different, pretty much.
Anybody close to you who does not want you to cut weight again?
No, I think it's just a matter of doing it professionally and doing it right, and just having proper discipline structure. It could just come down to discipline, I've always cut like maybe 15 pounds of water or less. Usually get to 197 before I start cutting, which is water weight, because you need a little water weight to kind of boost back up afterward. But when you make an accident or you make an error, this is how my mind works. It's like, all right, I did something wrong. Let's readjust and fix it. It's not, all right, let's not do it anymore. It doesn't work. I mean, look at great leaders of the world. If they had stopped, they wouldn't have done great things. So again, it's just a learning experience to say, okay, this wasn't done properly. Let's take a different drastic measure to focus on how we can do this properly so we can move forward amicably.
I mean, weight cutting in general in the sport of mixed martial arts is a complex thing. It's a complicated problem with not a really clear solution. But there is, some would say that it's probably not going to be corrected or really addressed in the appropriate way until something tragic happens. You are almost something that tragically happened. I mean, Do you think there's truth in that it's going to take a tragedy in order for something to change in a big way when it comes to weight cutting?
Probably. I think there's probably two things to do to make it a lot more efficient, a lot better. One is adding more weight classes. I walk around at maybe 215 the most. I would say open a closer weight class, That would definitely help. Like they just opened a 125 from a 115. It's like, come on, there's 185 and then there's 205. Like move that shit to like 195 and then put the 205 to 210 or whatever. But maybe opening a lot more weight classes, that will definitely help. And I think what will help that too is it would teach a lot of fighters, if they walk around a certain weight, then it'd be easier to cut to a closer weight rather than making just a drastic cut. My coach, he's a boxer, he's a little guy. He's always yelling at me, making fun of me that I'm fat and all that stuff. But, for him, he says, I walk around like 5 pounds of my weight. I'm like, yeah, but your body's different. I'm different. You're in that old school mentality. He's a boxer, so I got to teach him that I do more than just boxing. Boxing is one-dimensional. You run, basically, you jump rope. It's easy to lose weight like that. I got to work different strength muscles. I need my legs. You look at boxers, they got some skinny legs. I need my legs. So I'm adding muscles. So I got to know the right portion of muscles. And then, of course, with discipline behind that, I don't think we could have a problem. But like I said, it's a wake-up call. Maybe there's some things I wasn't doing right. I'm not going to look at the negative side of it and say I was partying, which I wasn't, which is the dumbest shit I've ever heard, or wasn't following procedure, because I've been doing this my whole life, and all of a sudden, the biggest fight of my career, I'm gonna be like, oh, let me just party this weekend. It's the dumbest thing I've heard. So it's just taking discipline more and doing what I need to do, basically.
Well, what you just referenced there was that was a comment made by President Dana White. He said that he had heard that you had maybe not taken your last training camp seriously.
Yeah.
He even said that apparently there was some talk about you were partying in Los Angeles instead of training for the fight in Las Vegas.
Oh, so a week before my fight, let me go drink and party.
Do you have any idea where those came from?
To be honest, I think, first of all, Dana is a businessman, and we're cool. I don't have any beef with him. One of the things I like about Dana, he'll tell you when you're messing up, and the thing with that is it tells you when you're doing something wrong, and he'll tell you when you're doing something right. That I don't mind. Sometimes there's different message relayed to someone else. So let's just say it's 5 of us, and the message starts over there. The message could be something simple. By the time it gets to me, someone in that mist could switch it. I'm guessing that's what happened. And being that he's so passionate about stuff, because you know how passionate he is, he related it differently. And I've never partied before. I mean, you could ask any fighter. And for those who do that, look at their success rate. No. But I do remember going to California because of the incident of my coach taking his life and one of my best friends that we had a bad fallout with. And me going to California is to go to the beach. I love the beach. That's one of the reasons why I moved from New York. New York is crazy. I love New York, but screw you, New York, right now. So California definitely made me feel at peace, made me feel calm. And when I'm in Cali, I go to the beach a lot. The beach relaxes me. So I went to the beach in California. In the midst of that, my buddy's like, hey, you want to come hang out? I'm like, yeah, sure. And I'm guessing, when you see just like the media portrays, oh, he's partying. I'm at a bar when I saw some silly stuff because they were dancing. I'm like, what the heck is this? And me sharing made it look like I was partying. So that's me partying in LA right before my fight. That one little thing I did. And me not following procedure, which I don't understand because I'm here all the time. I guess it was a problem with the way of eating. Eating is something you have to be accustomed to, especially when you're cutting weight. So I didn't formally agree with the way they wanted me to eat, and I didn't want to do it. I said, I've been doing it all my life. I know how to do it. I know my body, and there's no one in the world that knows my body better than me. So I guess that's not following procedure. But again, when you don't come to the source, there's always going to be speculations and stuff like that. So in times like this, you get to sit back and be like, all right, I see all the stuff people saying. Now I see who's really a friend or whatever, But I don't pay attention to that, man.
Yeah, the last question about what happened previously is that you had mentioned that you were having trouble digesting food. Did you ever get to the source of that, and has that been addressed?
So that's one of the things we're working on now. After we run all the tests with the blood work, the weight cut, my muscles and all that stuff, one of the things I wanted to do was to go inside, and that's something we're gonna do. In fact, I thought that was more of the problem than anything else. But for liability reasons, of course, everyone's going to be like, well, let's do this and this and this because this is where you failed at. But the fact that I couldn't digest food, I thought that was more of the issue. You good, bro? I thought that was more of the issue than anything else. So I spoke to the doctors, and they're going to go in and stuff like that, and just going to see maybe I have some kind of bacteria thing going on or something. But I know it happens occasionally, and I get bloated, and it's hard for me to digest, and it just miraculously happened right before the fight. So shit happens.
Okay. Talk about the fight that you do have coming up. Paulo Costa at UFC 226 in July. He is a guy who seems to be getting a push. He's a guy who's been doing well for himself. He's got the knockouts on his record. He's looked at as a guy who could be a title contender. Do you see him in that light?
Oh, definitely. I mean, he's young, he's hungry, and he's the next generation is coming up, and they're pushing him. When they see stuff like that, they're pushing him. It's sad to say it, but it's how the world works. It's not just UFC. There's a lot of favoritism, but it sells, and that's what people want. They want to see someone who's in the spotlight, someone in the limelight. It was a good-looking person, or it's a girl that's pretty, or this person has this dynamic effect, or undefeated record. So he has all these great things coming for him, which is great. For me, it's awesome because it's a motivation. I actually wanted to fight this kid. It's funny, a lot of people I've spoken to doesn't like this kid for whatever reason, especially a lot of Brazilians. But it should be a good show because no one's ever fought this kid, and everyone's afraid of this kid. I'm not afraid of this kid. You fucking kidding me? You're a man. You bleed. So that's what makes it so interesting.
Have you been told why some people don't like him?
No. I would say he's a hothead. He thinks he's like, I don't know if I can curse. I've been cursing or whatever. But he basically, thinks he's the shit, or I don't know. Like he's full of himself or whatever. Which, hey man, if you're full of yourself, that's fine. I mean, who am I to be like, hey, don't be so full of yourself? That's like everybody being, be yourself, but don't be yourself so much, If you're full of yourself, that's fine. I'm not gonna take that as motivation, be like, oh, those guys don't like you? I'm gonna kill you now. I have my own motivation behind this. The fact that he's younger than me, he has his youth, he's strong, and I personally think he's on something. It's a motivation, so I'm gonna use that.